Hello and welcome to A Book in 5 Minutes. I'm Lindsay Milner. As I promised, I'm returning to the book that I looked at last time, which is Scattered Minds by Gabor Maté, and it is subtitled The Origins and Healing of Attention Deficit Disorder. Also, you might know it more as ADHD rather than ADD, but he uses the term Attention Deficit Disorder or ADD. Same thing. The origins and healing. I'm not really going to talk about the origins because I think I covered those last week. What we really want to know is, how do we heal? How do we recover from these things? How do we sort it out? As he said, it's not an illness, it is a developmental disorder. We're learning a lot more about neuroplasticity of the brain. We used to think, scientists used to think that your brain, once it was developed in childhood, it stopped developing. But actually now there is a lot of new learning which shows that the brain, we can set up new networks, we can rewire our brain, we can create new neural pathways known as neuroplasticity. So Maté's stance is that because of this, we can actually continue the development of our brain even though it was stunted in childhood. So I'm going to take this a little bit backwards. I'm going to look at the adult first. He says that when we're looking at the adult, what's happened is that we haven't developed good self-regulation, we haven't got good intrinsic motivation, and we have low self-esteem. These things go along with the attention deficit disorder. So how do we develop these qualities in adulthood? And he says that it's the same as we need to do for children. It's about unconditional positive regard. It's about self-acceptance. And he says we need to cultivate compassionate curiosity about ourselves and learn self-acceptance, including the expression of negative emotions. He says that the adult with ADHD has probably spent a lot of time suppressing and not expressing negative emotions because they didn't have a safe space, they didn't feel safe in childhood to share those emotions with a parent or a parental caregiver who made them feel safe enough to do so. And again, this isn't about blame, this isn't about blaming the parents for doing this, it's about recognising that those parents were under stresses themselves, but the effects that had on the childhood, who is now an adult, is carrying that with them and needs to learn to accept those. And he also says, don't punish yourself for where you are now. Don't sort of, I've wasted my life, or I've missed that opportunity, or why have I not made the most of myself? And yeah, I recognise those. I've said those things about myself. He also says we need to get therapy. He says we need someone to guide us through this healing because it's not an easy process to do. The second thing, he calls it self-parenting, and then the second aspect to self-parenting that he talks about is the physical and spiritual aspect of self-parenting. And this is things like, make sure you live in a good physical space, don't have lots of clutter, have good sleep hygiene, have good nutrition, make sure you get plenty of exercise, get out into nature, make room, make time for creative expression, don't take on too many extracurricular activities, but make sure that you meditate and practice meditation and mindfulness. And I have to admit, when I'm reading that bit, I'm like, I've been trying to do this for years now, and it's so hard. And of course, now the recognition is the reason it is so hard is because I have poor self-regulation and poor intrinsic motivation, apart from when I hyper-focus on something. I'll just take a brief look at childhood. If you're a parent of a child with ADHD, he says that this the way to heal this is to heal your relationship with your child. And again, he's not about blaming the parent. He recognises that these are parents who wanted their children, loved their children, but there are stresses that have got in the way of that secure attachment and secure attunement with the child from infancy and probably still continuing. So what my conclusion, this is so hard to do. I think this is so hard even as an adult, and I don't know if this is my ADHD talking or if it just genuinely is really hard. I think it's probably the latter. I want to be positive about it, about the prospect for healing, but I also am feeling quite overwhelmed about it at the moment, possibly because I've been focusing on it. However, it's got to be worth the effort, hasn't it? Given a long-standing interest in personal development, I've learned something new about myself. It's got to be worth the effort at continuing to develop in that way. And maybe this will help me to develop different strategies. So I think if you're a parent of a child with ADD, the chances are you have it yourself, and I think the challenge is so much more huge if you're trying to repair a relationship with yourself and with your child at the same time. But I still conclude the book 100% worth reading, and yeah, the effort has got to be worth it. So that's this week's book, or last week's book again, Scattered Minds, The Origins and Healing of Attention Deficit Disorder by Gabor Maté. I will see you next time. Until then,